distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you all to Greece. I would like to welcome you to the opening event for the Pharos Summit 2022. This is a week-long meeting that is aimed at enhancing collaborations between the Greek and the US higher education institutions, and of course strengthening the educational collaborations and partnerships between the two countries. Today marks the formal launch of the event, which will also, the formal launch of the visit, which will also include site visits to 24 Greek higher education institutions, both here in Athens and, of course, in the whole country. Without further ado, I would like to call Minister of Education and Religious Affairs, Mrs. Niki Kerameos, to deliver the first address of the event.
Prime Minister Mitsotakis, Ambassador Tsounis, Assistant Secretary Satterfield, Dr. Goodman, honorable delegates. It is a great source of joy and honor for me to welcome you all to Athens and to the Pharos Summit 2022. I vividly remember March of 2020, when we were set to receive you in Athens, and I also recall the frustration we all felt when the evolving situation with the COVID-19 pandemic necessitated that we postpone the visit. More than 2.5 years later, you are finally here. And in the meantime, great collaborations have been established, and the delegation has been expanded to include even more institutions. I would like to start off by thanking all of those whose tireless efforts allowed us to realize this visit, but also to keep the program going so dynamically, so passionately, if I may say, during the challenging times of the pandemic. First and foremost, I would like to thank the true leaders of this effort, our universities, on both the Greek side and the US side. Their leadership, their faculty, for their enthusiastic response to this collaboration. I would like to thank personally Dr. Alan Goodman and his team at IIE, our most valuable partner since day one of this fantastic venture. Thank you, Alan. Our colleagues in the US government, as represented here today by Assistant Secretary Satterfield, who traveled from the United States of America just to be here with us. Thank you very much, Lee. Ambassador Tsounis, who wholeheartedly embraced the project from the very first day of his tenure as ambassador, and this is not an exaggeration. The very first meeting Ambassador had on the day of his arrival in Greece was to discuss fostering further collaborations between US and Greek universities. Assistant Secretary of State for Energy Resources, Geoffrey Pyatt, who helped us, and former ambassador to Greece, who helped us launch this program during his tenure as US ambassador. The Fulbright Foundation in Greece and its executive director, Ms. Artemis Zenetou. And on our end, our Prime Minister, Mr. Kyriakos Mitsotakis, who from the very, very beginning wholeheartedly supported every aspect of this most challenging venture. My colleagues at the Ministry of Education, Deputy Minister Angelos Syrigos, Secretary General Ulysses Zoras, the President of the Independent Authority for Higher Education in Greece, Professor Periklis Mitkas, and last but certainly not least, my team working on the venture and all colleagues at the Ministry of Education. 3 key questions today during these opening remarks. Why here? Why now? What's next? Question number 1, why here? Because Greece possesses all the necessary ingredients for becoming a global education hub, attracting students, faculty, and researchers from around the world. Greece is uniquely located at the crossroads of Europe, Asia, and Africa. And as a member state of the European Union, it enjoys the full benefits of its membership, including access to funding for academic research. As the birthplace of Western civilization, our country is a robust and liberal democracy, which has remained adamantly strong even during the hardest of times. Distinguished academics, a wide range of fields for academic study, and a varied higher education landscape allow for interested institutions to customize their partnership profile and to find their appropriate match here in Greece. In addition, wide knowledge of English and a thriving entrepreneurial landscape make Greek universities excellent collaborators in joint ventures that aim to bring academia and society closer together. And finally, it doesn't hurt that Greece, though here I must confess I'm not objective, is a beautiful country featuring a diverse landscape, fantastic weather, we brought the sunshine for you, year-round, hospitable people. Second question, why now? Because we are at an all-time high in the relations between our two countries, with strong political will on both sides to foster stronger, deeper collaborations among universities. Because the Greek government has set the internationalization of Greek higher education at the very top of its reform agenda. We have undertaken bold legislative initiatives to facilitate the creation of foreign language programs, international partnerships, joint degrees, dual degrees, double degrees, summer programs, joint research centers, to name just a few of the initiatives, all of them coupled with extensive funding. Because over the past 3 years, we have seen an excited embrace of this new direction from the universities of Greece and the United States of America. So in a nutshell, all of the critical factors are aligned. The moment, ladies and gentlemen, is now. And this delegation, dear Ambassador, as you know, is the largest, is a historic delegation. It is the largest delegation of US universities to any foreign country in IIE's over 100-year history. I think that speaks volumes about the potential of this collaboration. Third question, what comes next? Most of you here today are already well aware of the advantages of collaborating with Greek institutions. Of the 30 institutions currently present in this room, 25 either have already some form of existing collaboration with Greek higher education institutions or are in the midst of partnership discussions with one. Most of these collaborations were a result of the International Academic Partnership Program that brought all of you here today. And as you will hear later today, these partnerships cover a very diverse academic fields and interests spanning across STEM, social sciences, humanities, business, and beyond. Many of the delegates here have long-standing relationships with Greece, while others are coming to our country for the very first time, but hopefully just first of very many visits. And we have started having important announcements. Columbia University announced yesterday the creation of a Columbia Global Center in Athens, while other announcements are due today and the coming days. I want to thank you all for the time and consideration and enthusiasm you've already dedicated to this program, and to wish you the best of luck with the conversations you will be engaging in over the coming days. We've waited a very long time to make this happen, but this remains still only the beginning of what we see as a significant journey that will forge even stronger links between Greek and US universities. Links that will benefit the academic communities of both our countries. Thank you very much. And with that, I would like, with a slight change of the schedule, give the floor to the Prime Minister of Greece, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, who was asked to speak at the beginning of this event. He changed his schedule in order to be here with us today. He is honoring us with his presence. Please, a round of applause for the Prime Minister of Greece. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you all, Assistant Secretary Satterfield, Ambassador Tsounis, President Goodman. Ladies and gentlemen, it is such an honor to be here with you today, and I can really sense the excitement in the room about what is already starting to become an incredibly fruitful cooperation between US academic institutions and Greek universities. I did change my schedule, delayed my departure for COP, to be able to be with you today to share some simple words about how excited I am about this partnership and about how committed we are to making sure that our universities open up to the world and are able to cooperate with the best universities in the world. I had the privilege of receiving my academic education in the United States. And I have tirelessly worked over the past 3.5 years with Minister Kerameos to make sure that we usher Greek universities into a completely new era. And a central pillar of our strategy has been to make our universities more international, to foster the international cooperations that you are currently discussing. Many of them have already been agreed. Many more will be agreed over the next days, weeks, months, years, because I think there's a real case to be made to strengthen the academic ties between our two countries. I think Minister Kerameos spoke very eloquently about why this is the right time to foster these types of collaborations. What I can tell you is that Greece over the past 3.5 years has changed significantly. Many of you associated Greece with a country that was in a permanent crisis, and you were probably right to do so because our country has really struggled over the past decade. But what I can tell you is that the Greece of 2022 bears no resemblance to the Greece of 2012 or 2015. It is a country on the right track, a country on the move, with a growing economy, a dynamic society, and people, talented people who will constantly strive to do much better in life. We are trying to offer our students in our public education the best possible free public education experience. And in order to do that, we passed a piece of legislation that is really giving the universities the freedom that they were always craving for, to forge exactly these partnerships that you're currently discussing. And I think that for the US universities looking to expand to other parts of the world, there is probably no better place than Greece today. Not simply because of the lovely weather, the quality of life. I'm sure many of you would love to spend more time in Greece, as would your students or your faculty or your research assistants. Not just because of the classical heritage of the country. This is not just a place to come and study archaeology, classical studies, history. It is also a laboratory of constant change. It is a country that is in a very critical geopolitical position, a country where, apart from classics, you can focus your research on topics such as migration, security studies, climate. The Eastern Mediterranean is a hotbed for climate change, but also a country where our government is committed towards implementing innovative public policy solutions. And those public policy solutions quite frequently have their origin in the academic work that you will be doing. Hence, you will find in Greece not just a very friendly country, but also a government that is going to be eager to further develop ideas that will emerge from these academic collaborations. And I'm so happy that many of these collaborations have already been announced. I was thrilled to be informed that yesterday Colombia announced the establishment of a global center in Greece focusing on topics such as migration and climate change. And I'm sure that a lot of good things will come out of this event. On our part, I can assure you that we will remain fully committed towards fostering these types of partnerships that bring together two countries with very deep historical ties. I have very fond memories of the great privilege that I had to address the joint session of Congress last May. It was an opportunity for me to celebrate this common path of our two thriving democracies that have stood side by side during very difficult times over the past 2 centuries. And I think that this cooperation that we're inaugurating today is just one more step in the direction, Mr. Ambassador, dear George, of further strengthening the ties between our two countries. I wish you all a very productive week. I would ask you to explore the breadth of talent and creativity that exists in Greek public universities. For those of you who will travel outside Athens, you will realize that there are very vibrant universities, not just in the capital or in Thessaloniki, but also in other parts of the country. Please engage with the leadership of our universities, with our professors, with our students, and you will be aware that at the end of the day, the biggest asset of the country is not its geographic location or the weather, or the fact that it is a natural destination for tourism or foreign direct investment. The biggest asset of the country is its people, especially its younger generation, creative students who are striving for the best, who deserve the best. We are supporting our public education system through taxpayer money, and we have an obligation to offer our students the best possible education. And in order to do that, we need to be able to collaborate with the best. Thank you very much for being here. I wish you a very fruitful and productive trip.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, for your remarks today. I'm sure all of your attendees here today are excited to finally see this collaboration in the making. It has been in the making for so long, and now it takes the form of an in-person visit. And while the pandemic has taught us so many lessons, it goes without saying that the value of the in-person meetings and interaction is something that nothing can substitute it. So now, let me call the Ambassador George Tsounis to address the Greek and American delegates and share his thoughts on this unique value of this collaboration. Ambassador Tsounis, thank you.
Καλημέρα, Pharos Summit, και καλώς ορίσατε στην Αθήνα. Είναι μια ιδιαίτερη τιμή και μεγάλη χαρά να είμαι μαζί σας. It is a further pleasure to be here with Prime Minister Mitsotakis and First Lady Mitsotakis. I can think of no greater acknowledgement as to the importance of what is happening today than to have the Prime Minister delay his trip to COP. So I'm grateful for the support that the Mitsotakis administration has delivered for day one with this most important collaboration. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ. Minister Karameas, Assistant Secretary Satterfield, President Goodman, Fulbright, directors, and esteemed guests, it is an honor to join you for the opening ceremony of the Pharos Summit. This highlights all the great work the United States and Greece are doing to advance our people-to-people ties and shared education goals. It is not lost on any of us that we are a short distance away from where Socrates and Plato and Aristotle taught. It gave birth to learning and enlightenment, Western thought and civilization. We truly owe ancient Greece a tremendous debt of gratitude, as I think in the future, as the ancients have taught us that wise people plant trees that they will not necessarily be around to enjoy their shade, the work being done today will be enjoyed and will benefit many, many, many generations to come. I regret that I wasn't able to take advantage of this, but I'm grateful for the opportunity that one day my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, and beyond may be able to take advantage of the opportunities that this summit has facilitated. And again, on behalf of the Tsounis family, I thank you. The last several years, the U.S. Embassy has worked closely with the government of Greece and the Ministry of Education and Religious Affairs to support the internationalization of Greek universities. We are proud to be Greece's #1 partner in academic cooperation, and the Pharos Summit further solidifies this outstanding partnership. The U.S. government prioritizes this partnership at the highest levels, and we see great potential for success across so many fields of endeavor. That's why I am so happy to welcome my friend, the Assistant Secretary Lee Satterfield, here today. who's made a special trip to help launch this summit. The bilateral relationship between the United States and Greece has never been stronger. We're proud that the government of Greece has approached the United States to put together this summit, one of the most groundbreaking and significant projects to date at the realm of international education. We are natural partners in academic internationalization. We share democratic values. We share the same foundations when it comes to education, democracy, social prosperity, and academic freedom. And the Pharos Summit is a major effort to further enhance student mobility and to strengthen and increase university partnerships. And we're making history. At the inception of this project, we anticipated 12 institutions would show up. But anyone who has gotten to work with Minister Karameas knew that that would never be enough. And she set out, I don't know if she set out, but what she accomplished is a record. 30 universities here today, and I will tell you that would not be possible if it wasn't for Minister Karameas' dogged and continued efforts over the last couple of years. The test of our friendship she has mentioned that it was the first meeting that I took when I literally got off the plane, as if I had a choice. She showed up, and candidly, no one refuses Nikki Karameas. The test of our friendship is going to be, now that we are successful here, will she still call me on a regular basis? But I think she will. And I'm going to tell you a very slight story. My staff loves it when I go off script. Last night I had the pleasure to be sitting between Minister Karameas and Assistant Secretary Satterfield. And there was not a lot of self-congratulations as to the enormity of this accomplishment. The conversation went to, let's make sure that everyone has an opportunity, regardless of their station in life, that not only the privileged and the wealthy in this country can have an opportunity to study in the United States, but everyone can, regardless of money, regardless of their ability to pay. So I was really honored because I had seen hard work and competence, but what I also saw yesterday, and it was overwhelming, is an ethos that spoke to kindness, fundamental fairness, and equity. And I have to tell you, you don't always see that. And thank you so much for the type of leadership that you provide. So welcome 30 U.S. universities to Greece. This represents diversity and ingenuity of the U.S. educational model. The universities here today have great potential that I think is going to be unlocked in this country. It's clearer now than ever that U.S. universities are looking to Greece for the future. The U.S.-Greece bilateral commitment to education is not a new phenomenon. Greece hosts the oldest Fulbright Commission in Europe and the second oldest in the world. It is led by my good friend Artemis, 18 years, first woman to hold the position, first Greek to hold the position. When I say she is a trailblazer, she literally could be a photo of her in the dictionary under trailblazer, and I'm proud to be your friend, Artemis. More than 6,000 Greek and American fellows have traveled to one another's countries in the last 8 decades to learn, to grow, to serve as cultural ambassadors of our countries. Just as I want to see more Americans studying abroad in Greece, I want to bring more Greek students to the United States. We want to see more students and academics moving in both directions. When we internationalize our campuses and increase student mobility, we produce graduates who are better equipped for the job market. In this way, increased educational collaboration between our countries increases employability. That strengthens and creates opportunities for both of our economies. a vibrant example. If you see this administration that is Western looking, that is highly competent and is educated in the United States. The minister has been educated at Harvard. The Prime Minister at Stanford and Harvard Business School. The former Prime Minister at Amherst and Harvard Business School. The Minister of Defense at the University of Pennsylvania. The Minister of Digitalization at MIT, and I can go on and on and on. I don't think this is accidental. Here we combine a Greek spirit and a very highly intelligent student body and workforce, and receiving a tremendous education and training in both of our countries. And it leads to competence, not only in government, but in business and in academia. And in the public sector. And what you're seeing today in Greece is nothing short of miraculous. As years ago, I couldn't turn on CNBC and watching Greece be mocked, and it was incredibly unfair. And look what's happening today. 8.3% growth last year. We're going to have 7% growth this year. Greece is the fastest growing economy in Europe, and that is not by accident. That speaks to the type of leadership that it possesses. Greece is now the answer, and a very significant answer, to Europe's energy crisis, as it is a leader in renewables. It is a leader in energy diversification. It is a leader in energy transition. It is becoming an emerging energy hub that is going to support all of Southeast Europe and deleverage Gazprom. And I think that's a very good idea, as Gazprom and Russia for decades now has used this as a geostrategic tool of exploitation, where Greece will use it as a tool of helping neighbors and growing economies and contributing to regional peace and stability. Because for all things, Greece is always on the right side of history and acts with values and principles, and that's why I am so proud to be the ambassador here. This educational collaboration will produce graduates in Greece who have U.S. experience. This strengthens the recruitment tool for U.S. companies in Greece, incentivizes U.S. corporate investment in Greece. It's a virtuous cycle. It deepens our ties. It produces graduates that are ready to face global challenges together and effectively meets the demands of a rapidly changing world. I'd like to congratulate Minister Karameas for her leadership and her vision. I want to thank the Ministry of Education, the Institute of International Education, the Fulbright Foundation in Greece for bringing this delegation together. On a side note, she doesn't always get the credit she deserves, but I know firsthand that a lot of the efforts and a lot of the successes that were achieved today are due to the First Lady's efforts, and I want to thank her for being a beacon and a positive force in this country. Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Tunis, for your insights and for demonstrating the support of the U.S. Embassy in Greece towards this project. Since, of course, its inception, I would like now to call Assistant Secretary of State for Educational and Cultural Affairs, Lee Satterfield, to take the floor and deliver a few remarks on the way that the U.S. government visions this partnership. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Minister Karameas, Madam First Lady, it is an honor to be with you today. And on behalf of President Biden and Secretary of State Blinken from Washington, D.C., I'm thrilled to be with you at the start of the Pharos Summit to celebrate the partnership with Greek economic cooperation and also chart our shared future. I had the chance last evening to meet many of those who traveled from the United States as part of the delegation, and I shared with them a little bit about how I got involved. And it began when the Prime Minister and First Lady and his family were visiting Washington, D.C. in the spring, and I think I was only in my position a couple of months. We were at the White House at a reception, and it was very engaging and active, and everyone was very excited about the Prime Minister's visit, the relationship between the Prime Minister and the President. And the Minister and I had a moment she pulled me aside at that reception and told me about the efforts that the Prime Minister was going to make in higher education in Greece, and all that she would do at the Ministry of Education to pave a way for greater collaboration for the Greek public school system in higher education, and also how we could form stronger partnerships with allied countries, particularly the United States. And she described how the Prime Minister and she understood so well how solving shared global challenges would happen between relationships in higher ed and research. And I was immediately brought on board. I was immediately sold. In fact, I canceled my entire schedule the next day and followed her to her meeting with U.S. universities and colleges. That's a true story. And met many of you who ended up on the delegation today, and some of the amazing students who had the opportunity to study in Greece, and how it changed their lives. And we were very impacted by that. So I agree with everything that's been said about the minister's leadership and her vision for seeing this through. And I'm just glad that it was postponed for several years so that I could be a part of it. So selfishly, I think it worked out really well. I'd also like to recognize my colleague and friend, Ambassador Tsounis. You are the most passionate advocate that I've come across for the U.S.-Greece relationship and friendship, and how you lift up higher education and see the value in student mobility between our two countries is a gift for those in my role, those who work so hard at the State Department to make people-to-people diplomacy a priority. We are so lucky to have you here, and thank you for your service. Dr. Alan Goodman at IIE, I couldn't think of a better partner for the ministry to have brought along to put this entire delegation together. It is historic, the largest delegation ever from the United States in the part of IIE's history to travel to another country to build relationships and create partnerships. And he is also a force in this space and a good friend. Thank you, Alan and IIE. Artemis I love the description of Artemis by the ambassador, and I couldn't agree more. We met over 20 years ago when she was living in Washington, D.C., and we had a chance to spend time together developing a friendship then, and I love seeing what you've done with the Fulbright Foundation here, and it continues to grow with the support of Minister Karameas, and she has recognized completely and fully the power of the Fulbright. So we're very excited about that continued collaboration. And to all of the Greek public universities who are attending today, and my friends from the United States who are part of the delegation, welcome. President Biden has said our nations are linked by deeply rooted shared values that unlock incredible opportunities. But the principal driver of our relationship is a connection between our people. Now, through international education, we have an opportunity to make our people-to-people connections even stronger. Education is the foundational pillar of both our U.S.-Greece bilateral relationship and our broader U.S. foreign policy strategy. For generations, students and scholars from our two nations have come together to pursue solutions to some of the most pressing issues of the day, from democracy to global health to the latest innovations in science, technology, mathematics, and engineering. as well as explore our identities and shared values through the arts and humanities. As we look to the next generation of American and Greek students and scholars, it is a priority of President Biden and Secretary Blinken to encourage our students to study in each other's countries, to expand institutional partnerships between Greek and American universities, and to pursue more joint degree programs and research. A key challenge that we face together is expanding access to international education to any Greek or American student or scholar who wants to pursue it. Today, I'm proud to share that the Biden administration has increased its investment in the Benjamin Gilman Scholarship Program. This is the program in the United States that supports U.S. students with financial need to study abroad. By doing so, we're building on diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in international education. We're committed to including all Americans in opportunities to engage a global community. In addition to creating new opportunities for American students, the Biden administration is investing in our efforts to recruit and welcome international students to U.S. campuses and communities through Education USA. We want to remain the top destination for students from Greece, and we recognize the important impact that international students from Greece have in our communities and on our college campuses. The connection shared between our people, as President Biden has said, furthers our work. It pushes us to progress and inspires us to empower and engage people from all walks of life in the United States and in Greece, and all around the world. The Pharos Summit, using the power of convening, has unlimited potential to create new opportunities for international education between our countries, our institutions in higher education, and our people. Thank you so much for lifting up and strengthening higher education in your country and in mine. It's exactly what we believe in: creating relationships and partnerships outside of government to government to create the change that we all want to see. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Assistant Secretary. Your presence here actually is a powerful testament of the importance that the U.S. government places in these partnerships. Thank you for being here. Now, we're going to watch a video on the journey that led us into today's visit, from the inception of the idea back in 2019 until today, the realizing of this in-person delegation visit in November in Athens.
Kalispera to all of our colleagues in Athens, Kalimera to my colleagues in Washington and New York, and to all of those who have joined the call. We've had a huge enrollment for this, and I'm so touched that we all are at the interest people have in this new opportunity to study in a remarkably open Greece.
In the context of this new era, Greece is further opening up to the rest of the world in a variety of ways, one of the most prominent being through its education system.
We are excited on behalf of the Department of State, Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs, to join you today to celebrate and encourage international academic partnerships between the United States and Greece.
There's a lot of room for growth of new partnerships between Greek and U.S. institutions. U.S. students definitely want to go to Greece. They are going to Greece.
tremendous pool of talent and hidden value in our public universities. And the first thing that we need to do is make sure that we open them up to the rest of the world.
So if there were an Olympic medal for things like this, Greece would get the gold.
That according to recent data, the number of students choosing to study in Greece increased by 20% compared to the previous year.
And what I wanted to underline to the wider group was just the unique moment that we've arrived at, where we have this strong commitment both from the American side of the Atlantic and from the Greek side to maximize the number of students and scholars moving in both directions.
Signal of engagement already from the President, from the White House, from the new leadership at the State Department, and I know that education is going to remain a real featured aspect of that.
We are extremely pleased to see all of you here committed to making this program a success.
I'm going to present our partnering experience in the framework of IEPP Greece. We have already built a partnership with New York University in the law discipline.
Okay, thanks, John. So yes, I'm Lynn Aguado. I work in the Office for Education Abroad, which is our outbound mobility office. And so I'm going to give you a brief overview on some of those efforts.
Good morning, kalimera. Good afternoon, kalispera. Minister Kerameos, Your Excellency Ambassador Payat, Dr. Goodman, esteemed colleagues, αγαπητοί συνάδελφοι, greetings from Illinois.
Last but not least, nice to see you all. My name is Lisa Velasquez from the University of Alabama. I'm in the College of Arts and Sciences and working with our Capstone International Center. Of course, COVID has impacted all of us, so we've been doing a lot trying to find connections between universities.
Hello, I'm George Tunis, the United States Ambassador to Greece. When we talked about the International Academic Partnership Program back in December of 2019, we never could have imagined we would one day be welcoming 30 American universities to Greece all at once. This is the Institute of International Education's largest American delegation to any single country in history. Everyone at the U.S. Embassy is so excited to see the Pharos Summit come to life. This summit underscores Greece's importance as a destination for international education and underscores Greece's position as a partner of choice for the United States.
We'll be having around 30 top American universities visiting us in November in Greece. I'll be happy to host you. We have a lot to offer, and my vision is to really become a regional education center. And as American universities look to expand in our part of the world, you know, what better destination than Greece?
So this is where we are now, in November, here in Athens. It's a reality now, and it's my honor to introduce this next segment of today's event, which really gets us at the core of this partnership. We'll now have the opportunity to hear from a few partnerships that have already emerged out of this Greek-US collaboration from some of our participating institutions. First, I would like to call on Professor Cooley, the Vice Provost of Barnard College, who is representing Columbia University today, and Professor Lagaros from the National and Technical University of Athens to deliver a short presentation on the dual degree program in engineering and applied science that the two institutions have developed. Professor Cooley, Professor Lagaros, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So, distinguished members of the Greek and American higher education community, Minister Kerameos, Madam First Lady, Ambassador Tunis, Madam Assistant Secretary Satterfield, this is a great honor. My name is Alex Cooley. I'm Professor of Political Science and Vice Provost for Academic Centers at Barnard College of Columbia University. And I'm honored to represent Columbia today as one of the members of the IAPP delegation. Columbia has pursued many programs with Greek institutions over the last year, spanning an exciting variety of academic fields and professional spheres. And just here in Athens yesterday, as we've heard now, President Lee Bollinger announced that the university would establish its 10th Global Center in Athens. Today, I will say a few words on behalf of Columbia about our recent memorandum of understanding with the National Technical University of Athens and the resulting new dual degree program between NTUA and the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. I should emphasize that the driving force behind the MOU on the Columbia side was Professor George Deodatis, as well as the then Dean of the Engineering School and now Provost of the university, Dr. Mary Boyce. The Basic Civil Engineering Diploma at NTUA is a 5-year course of study with the final semester dedicated to the writing of a diploma thesis. So the main idea is for NTUA students to come to Columbia after completing 4 years of study at NTUA and then study for 2 or 3 semesters towards the Columbia MS degree, fulfilling all of Columbia's requirements in the process. They will select courses at Columbia that constitute a logical continuation of their prior 4-year study at NTUA. At the same time, they will work on independent research advised by an NTUA professor and a Columbia professor, thereby fulfilling the NTUA requirements for a diploma thesis. And at the end of their studies at Columbia, these students will receive a Columbia MS degree and an NTUA diploma in engineering. This exciting agreement allows for the expansion of ties between our 2 university communities. The major challenge that we face going forward is that of funding and securing scholarships for qualified students. The program was ready to start this year. Indeed, we had accepted an excellent student from NTUA, but we could not secure funding to support the student's studies at Columbia. It is my sincere hope that here, and members of the audience help us out, we can find a source of support going forward so that the partnership can actually begin next year. And so now let me invite Dr. Nikos Lagaros, Professor and Dean of the School of Civil Engineering, to say a few words on behalf of NTUA.
Thank you, Alex. Dear Minister of Education and Religious Affairs, dear Ambassador, dear First Lady, dear distinguished guests, good morning. I'm Nikos Lagaros, Professor of Structural Optimization, Dean of the School of Civil Engineering at the National Technical University of Athens. From the NTUA side, the driving forces behind the MOU signed between NTUA and Columbia University at its first steps was Professor Ioannis Golias, former rector of NTUA, and for the last 3 years is Professor Andreas Boudouvis, rector of NTUA, to whom should be attributed most of the success completion of the preparation and signature of this MOU. The National Technical University of Athens and Columbia University agreed to establish a dual degree program through the MOU signed a year ago. Upon successful completion, it leads to awarding of 2 degrees, the postgraduate degree in various engineering disciplines from Columbia University and the diploma integrated master's degree in various disciplines from NTUA. For students starting enrollment at NTUA, the program is expected to take 10 semesters for completion, including 8 semesters at NTUA and 2 semesters at Columbia University. For students starting enrollment at Columbia University at the MSc degree level, the program is expected to take 4 semesters for completion, including 2 semesters at Columbia and 2 semesters at NTUA. The next slides, you can see the credit transfer of the students of NTUA at Columbia University. Professor Cooley has already referred to it. According to the MOU, only top-level students from each university are eligible to participate in the NTUA Columbia mobility, and they are selected based on merit. The top-level NTUA students are the crème de la crème of the Greek university students community, and they are offered admission and scholarships from all top universities in the US and Europe when they apply for PhD candidacy. Now that we're close to the implementation of MOU since the COVID pandemic restrictions are practically over, the implementation of the agreement faces a serious obstacle: the tuition fees that NTUA students have to pay to Columbia University. It is a substantial amount of money in addition to the living expenses. Note that the studies of a Columbia University student in NTUA under the agreement is tuition-free, while it is possible to host Columbia University students to the dormitories of NTUA for less than $4,000 per year. To cover the cost of NTUA student going to Columbia University, we have to launch a funding campaign since we should not rely on students' ability to cover these expenses. The structure of MOU is composed by two parts. Its main part contains the basic rules that are implemented horizontally to the schools and departments participating in the program. Its second part is composed by appendices. Each appendix contains the required rules by a specific collaboration designed by the Dean and the President of the schools and departments involved. So far, there is one such an appendix signed last March between the School of Civil Engineering at NTUA and the Department of Civil Engineering and Engineering Mechanics at Columbia. The appendix covers the requirements for students in the dual degree program for the discipline of civil engineering. In these two slides, you can see some of the requirements of the appendix for the discipline of civil engineering. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Cooley and Professor Lagaros. I would like now to call Professor Liketsos from Johns Hopkins University and Professor Vlamos from the Ionian University. They will present the research collaboration on fighting Alzheimer's disease through the Hellenic Initiative Against Alzheimer's. Professor Liketsos and Professor Vlamos, the floor is yours. Yes.
Dear Minister, dear Ambassador, distinguished colleagues, thank you very much for the nice opportunity. It was in 2018 when in our lab in Ionian University, Bioinformatics and Human Electrophysiology lab, we decided a bold venture to have the third series of our Congress, World Congress, Genetic, Geriatrics and Neurodegenerative Diseases Research, in Canada, Toronto. So there we had the privilege to invite as keynote speakers Professors Liketsos and Maheraki from Johns Hopkins and set up the first meeting. It is interesting for you to hear how the first call afterwards from Kostas happened.
Yeah, Vasha and I were talking while swimming in the beautiful Magathi River near Baltimore, and said, let's do something in Greece around Alzheimer's disease together. Who shall we call? Well, we'll call Takis Vlamos, who happened to be vacationing on the beautiful islands of Tinos, Volax. Volax, yeah.
So, afterwards, a lot of conversations take place, and we talk together. And the interesting thing was from the beginning we wanted not only to build up a strong scientific collaboration, but mainly to build a platform for interventions in Greece, and Professor Liketsos will tell you extensively about it.
Thank you, Taki, and indeed it is an honor. Thank you all, Minister Kerameos, who's been supportive of our work from the very beginning, and Ambassador Tsounis, it's wonderful, and Secretary Satterfield, great to see you again. Well, you sort of saw how it all started. I want to point out that we were very interested in Alzheimer's disease, partly because that's what we do, but also because it's a very significant challenge worldwide. It's the next silent pandemic, growing slowly. If you look at the total world numbers on the right, every 20 years, by pure aging of the population, the numbers of people living with dementia doubles. So 2015, it was around 45 million. By 2050, it's 131 million. That's just the patients. So you add 2 to 3 carers for these individuals, and that the average person lives about 8 years with the disease. You do the math. It's a major burdensome condition. A few quick facts that are relevant to our discussion. There is no imminent cure. We had hoped for a while, but the field did not take a good bet in trying to figure out how to cure this condition. So these numbers will be with us very likely for the next few decades. But effective care is possible. It makes a difference if you receive effective care as opposed to if you don't, in a variety of parameters. And more we're understanding the importance of prevention. Why is this relevant to Greece? It's all about aging. Greece is the 3rd oldest population in the world, and it has a major demographic and budgetary effect coming from just the accumulation of people with dementia who will be alive in the next several years in this country. So our scientific collaboration was really about, let's set something together that will be evidence and science-based, that will have ground rules of openness and collaboration, and will pursue a number of high-impact results. So we founded the Hellenic Initiative Against Alzheimer's Disease. You can go look at our website, hiaad.gr. It gives you a lot of depth and information. From the beginning, we've engaged a number of ministries. The first was education, but also health, labor and social security, and development and investment. Well, we are collaborating with what's known as the Hellenic Observatory for Dementia, which is a Ministry of Health entity, and 7 other Greek universities are involved in various ways through their faculty: Athens, Thessaloniki, Crete, Ioannina, Thessalia, Patra, and Thrace. And we have the common goal, 2 elements: grow research as it relates to dementia in Greece and by Greeks, and to prepare the country for the pandemic. Here's 30 members of our initiative. The slides will be available later. You can study their names and their biographies on our sites. It's a wonderful group of people that gets together every month to try and work on the various activities towards pursuing our common goal. So what are we doing to enhance research? Well, you start at finding out what there is. And so we have completed an inventory of the roughly 25 to 27 folks actively involved in various kinds of ADRD research in Greece. We have put for 2 years together monthly collaborative symposia. The remarkable thing about Greece is there is a thirst for collaboration, but collaboration hasn't really happened. So we are getting together so that people learn what everybody else is doing, and they can start figuring out ways to work together. A little bit like what we're doing here as part of the Pharos Summit, except we're doing this within country. And we are bringing a series of novel directions that have to do with precision medicine to the idea. Fancy words like big data, distributed brain image analysis, extracellular vesicle blood biomarkers, stem cell personalized drug therapies. All of these are techniques that we have very robustly at Hopkins that we're working on translating for investigations in Greece. And one of our main objectives is for Greece to rejoin as a full member in the Joint Program in Neurodegenerative Diseases. This is a European call for applications of research in this area. Greece has not participated, largely to its economic crisis, for a number of years. We're really hoping that we'll be able to see the rejoining happening probably in the coming days or weeks. We have begun through an MOU arrangement with the Foundation for Research and Technology in Crete around the development of a precision medicine center in Crete with the University of Crete, with also the Ionian universities and several other entities. And we envision this as a center of excellence that will spearhead research throughout the country in collaborating, focusing on translational research. The goal is to define the biological subtypes of ADRD. It's not one disease, so we need to understand which are the foundations of the various conditions so that each one has its own appropriate therapy. And also through the work of Professor Vlamos, we are participating in a digital innovation hub, health hub, based in Thessaly, which is going to be very central to what we plan to do. This is an already funded entity. So we were asked to talk about a few achievements. We've cherry-picked. You'll see the heat maps, which help us understand where people with dementia are located in Greece. We're working to combat stigma. Unfortunately, Greek population that is older now grew up in an era when people with dementia were hidden away, and so nobody wants to have the diagnosis. So we're fighting stigma at the same time as we are with the population at risk. We're putting together a national registry to enumerate as people arrive for care to understand where they're getting care and related issues. We have the starting of a clinical translational cluster. We now have 9 entities that are certified through our Hellenic initiative as appropriate clinical centers for the provision of care around ADRD, and we're pulling them together now as a cluster to also translate their work into research. We have a number of training programs as well. So here's the heat maps. These are using 2011 census data. We're hoping to have the 21 census data available. These are roughly heat map counts. It tells you in each part of the country roughly how many people. These aren't percentages, these are numbers of people living in each area. And if I were to superimpose the availability of services in relationship to the counts, I think you would see a misalignment, is that we have a lot of services available in certain areas. Actually, they're not even enough there, like in Athens and Thessaloniki, but we have no counts of services in many areas where we have thousands of people living with dementia and their caregivers. So moving forward, we're appreciating that right now in Greece, if you add up all the conditions involved, you're talking about 500,000 people with one of the ADRD conditions. You double that by adding the number of caregivers, about 10% of the population right now every day is living with dementia. Big numbers, going to double soon, which is why we are concerned about this pandemic. A number of other achievements to highlight: 2 books that the initiative has initiated in Greek. The one on the left is focused on educating the general public about the spectrum that relates to ADRD. The one on the right is targeted at clinicians who take care of people with ADRD. If you will, it's a care manual so that people can understand how better to care for patients. On the left, you see where it says Pistopoisi. That's the seal of approval that we give to the credential centers that go through the credentialing process, meet the standards for care provision. We have a very interesting public education campaign called Journey to Hope, which has been in 3 cities, is going to 3 more over the next few months. The idea is that we want to generate hope for this diagnosis so that people are more interested in accessing services, which we believe will improve their life quality. And then finally, we're working to engage with a worldwide entity known as the Fingers Project to bring prevention protocols for wide distribution in Greece as well. So in conclusion, HIAD, we think, has been very successful. We're finishing up the 3rd year of our existence. We're hoping to go to the next level with close engagement with elements of the government. Our goal, again, to accelerate research. We're getting there, and we've gotten a lot of progress in preparing the country for the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Liketsos and Professor Vlamos, for your remarks and for sharing the progress that your institutions have made in the field of Alzheimer's research. And I would like to call now Professor Vassiliou from Yale University and Professor Thomaidis from the National and Kapodistria University of Athens to present on the development of a Center for Excellence for Environmental Science and Public Health.
Dear Minister of Education, dear Madam First Lady, dear Assistant of Secretary of State, Ambassador Tsunis, Dr. Goodman, rectors, colleagues, professors, and most importantly, students. Nikos and I were here to present our excitement about our Center of Excellence for Environmental Sciences and Public Health. This effort started, I'm going to have to skip a little bit or rusting, but the initiation of this partnership started in 2019 during the 2nd International Yale Symposium on Olive Oil and Health, which is an amazing effort we're doing together, and I had invited Nikos to give a presentation in this symposium. And during that symposium, we developed the idea of having a center and collaborating, generating this center. And we work hard, we work really hard on almost, I can tell you, on a weekly basis and sometimes even on a daily basis. And finally, with the help of our administrators, in October 21, we signed the MOU aiming to initiate the collaboration between Yale and NQA for a Center of Excellence for Environmental Science and Public Health, based on research groups from both universities. In May 22, delegates from Yale and delegates from Athens met here in Athens, and we developed a strategic plan. I have to tell you, there was a lot of enthusiastic support from both universities, as you can see from the press releases from both Yale University and also University of Athens, the Kapodistrian University. So both press releases were out at the same time, and we moved. So what is our center? The mission of our center is to address future planetary health challenges by implementing transformative education and research on the intersection between environmental sciences and public health. What is our vision? We want to strengthen the well-being of people and the health of the ecosystem that supports them or us. This is our vision. So what is the overview of this center? Essentially, we have three major scales. One is develop research collaborations between both universities. The second is on educational and learning system developments in the areas of environmental science and public health. And Nikos will tell you what we have accomplished so far on that. And especially, the other thing we gave a lot of emphasis is to have the exchange between graduate and postgraduate students between the two universities, which we are very excited about it. The third and most important thing is we care about our junior faculty. We care about our students, and we would like to develop our junior faculty to really succeed us. So the first scale is the faculty development programs, as I said, mentoring, developing bilateral research proposals, and managing research projects. And now I'm going to pass to Nikos, and I'll come back.
Thanks, Vasilis. The strategic plan meeting was held in Athens on May 9th to 12th. And among meetings with companies, enterprises, the European Investment Bank, we met also with Minister Kerameos and Minister of the Environment, Mr. Skrekas. And the goals of the strategic plan are summarized as follows. First, we will start developing a 4+2 program within the next 2 years. The second goal is to implement and involve the Yale faculty in a master program in Athens on environmental health sciences next year. We strengthen the collaboration between research groups in 4 schools at Yale and 4 schools at Athens University with research accomplished and research proposals already submitted. And, of course, the fourth goal is to continue development of the center and the establishment of the legal entity. The master program in environmental health sciences will start in September 1st, 2023, and already faculty members from both universities develop the curricula and the content of the program. The 4+2 program is under development and will include 4 years of a bachelor's degree in environmental sciences at NKUA and 2 years of a master on public health at Yale. The third point is the most important. During my visit in May at Yale in May 2022, we have concluded to an international graduate student exchange agreement. It was signed in October, and most importantly, would include exchange of students for doing research and taking courses for credit and audit. And this accomplishment without tuition or registration fees. This is extremely beneficial for our students. And this is a proof that we pave a way to future generations. The next, let's say, action is to develop the building for the center, and we have already discussed this with Lambda Development. We have started discussions, and now we are aiming at establishing the center and finding the funding scheme of the investment. The European Investment Bank is already very favorable of this project. We would like to have this building in Ellinikon premises. Research between our institutions is multifaceted. We have already established collaboration with several schools on the beneficial effect, for instance, of EVO, extravirgin phytochemicals, on Alzheimer's disease, as an example. But two milestones should be highlighted. First, with our collaboration, we have been able to develop a prediction model from the SARS-CoV-2 wastewater data to predict hospitalization and ICU admissions in both countries. And the second milestone is the prediction model of combining metabolomics, metabolites, human metabolites, clinic data to predict the severity of the disease. And this is a major milestone. We have already set up a web-based application in both universities. Vasilis.
Thank you. I'd like to emphasize especially the last two research accomplishments which have taken a lot of attention internationally. So we have planned a summer school. You all know that Greece, and actually I was here 2021, and I don't want to start crying. I'm from the island of Evia, where the fires occurred. So since then, I have a mission. I have a mission to have a summer program that will go from forest management to fire, wildfire prevention, to public health and sustainable communities. I worked together with Lucas Joppa, the former CEO of environmental sciences from Microsoft. Now he's on a firm for sustainability. And we have put together 5 high-end artificial intelligence companies that they are all have agreed to come next summer in Greece, and we have the summer program that will talk about this. Most important is how really to go to the forest management and wildfire prevention. So we're excited, we're keep going. We look into the future. We're going to further develop the education and research enterprises. We want to continue the efforts to establish the building, as Nico said. And finally, the most important thing is we're going to create and use this center as a hub for collaborations with other universities. For example, you just heard earlier about the Alzheimer's disease. Nico said we're doing a lot of stuff with phytochemicals and Alzheimer's disease. And actually, we have a major publication coming up very soon, which is a collaboration, Temple University, NKUA, Imperial, and Yale, on phytochemicals that are able not only to prevent, but stop the progression of Alzheimer's disease. So we want to create this as a hub to have collaboration with other universities, and we'll discuss this during the visits. I would like to thank the administrations of Yale, especially our Associate Vice President of Global Strategy, Don Filer, who is here in the audience, and also the NQA Rector, Professor Meletios Athanasios Dimopoulos, for the continuous support and encouragement to develop this center. I want to develop Prime Minister Mitsotakis for his long interest on the Yale NQA partnership. Of course, I want to thank Prime Minister Ms. Niki Kerameos. We also want to thank Konstantinos Krekas, the Minister of Education, and the Minister, for the Environment. And finally, the enthusiasm and the collaborative nature of our faculty from both universities that they allowed to do that. Before I go and close, I have this slide, and Nikos would like to say one more word. I have to tell you, from the first visit, you can see there are two press releases in there. For the first time that we were here, Mrs. Kerameos called Nikos and said, I would like to meet with both of you. And she did during the pandemic. You can see that in her office. And then finally, when we had the retreat, we visited again and we had a meeting. And she really strongly encouraged us, and she continues to do that on a weekly basis. Anyway, thank you very much. And again, I want to show you our excitement about this center. We're really happy, and we work very hard on almost weekly basis and daily basis. Nico?
Just to close, I would like to say, to add that both Vasilis and I come from two islands, Evia and Lesbos, where knowledge was not always obvious. You know, the path to knowledge was not always easy. So we are here now to show that our students would like and will have access to the leading universities of the world. You are here. So it's a big step forward to academic access, success, and inclusion. And we are thankful for that, for your continued support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Vassiliou and Professor Thomaidis, for your presentation and, of course, your encouraging prospects for the future US-Greek collaborations. Now, we have a video testimonial from students who attended the first intensive summer course on migration and refugee studies in Greece between Harvard University and the National and Kapodistrian University of Athens, who have shared their experience with us.
In 2022, we were able to offer students interested in migration issues a unique experience, to engage conceptually and practically with key contemporary forced migration issues in one of the epicenters of the European migration crisis. After a hiatus of 2 years due to the pandemic, Harvard University, in collaboration with the National and Kapodistrian University of Athens, launched their first joint summer program on migration and refugee studies, the first product of a very promising collaboration between the two universities, a synergy that opens the door for auspicious prospects for research, pedagogy, and advocacy on a phenomenon that has plagued humanity. From simulations of rescue at sea to meetings with national and local governmental Greek actors and European Union representatives, from lectures by academics, lawyers, journalists, and emergency doctors, to visits to migrant camps and discussions with locals at the front lines, students from Harvard, NQUA, and other universities across the world spent 3 weeks in July 2022 in Greece, fully immersed on issues of migration, inside and outside the classroom. They had the opportunity to learn from 42 leading scholars and practitioners, while being exposed to perspectives that are hard to find in academic seminars. And all these in a safe learning space that welcomes students from all the disciplines and backgrounds, including refugees and students with refugee and irregular migration backgrounds. And who better to speak about this and this collaboration than our students themselves?
So Natalie, thank you so much for having this brief conversation with me. We spent 3 weeks together in Greece, in 3 different places in Greece, in Athens, in Istraia, and in Lesbos over the summer. And as a student from the Harvard Kennedy School working on issues of public policy, but with somebody with a health background, I wondered if you could just share some of your reflections about the program and what you took away from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. It was an incredible experience, and while there was so many takeaways, I think it was really gaining a deep understanding of just how complex refugee and migration policy really is, and with that, just how critically important it is to establish these partnerships and collaborations, such as the one between the FXP Center and our Greek colleagues, and really coming together to start understanding how we can find ways to improve the situations, to find ways around some of the massive barriers, continuing to advocate for refugees and migrants. But for me, most importantly and most imperative is really giving the voice and the platform to the refugees and migrants themselves. So having had the opportunity to not only be in the classroom with to refugee students, but really being able to have experiential learning where we were in the refugee camps and doing some of the simulation in collaboration with a lot of different parties. I think it was a really unique and special opportunity.
Yeah, Natalie, thank you. I think that, one of the things that we tried to offer as organizers was the opportunity to hear not only from different disciplinary experts, lawyers, doctors, journalists, people working on environmental issues, but also to hear from people who are very differently placed in society. As you say, we had refugees, we were fortunate enough to have refugees in our classroom, but also we met, people who are in very senior government positions, across to people who are, working on the front lines of humanitarian intervention, but also some local people. So thank you so much for these comments.
Okay, many thanks to the students from Harvard who shared their experiences with us. Now it's my great pleasure to invite Mrs. Megan Coates and Mrs. Eva Leverton from Stockton University. They will share their experience on participating in two different collaboration programs between Stockton and the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. Please be seated. Let me push my chair here, okay. So Ms. Coates, let me start with you. Can you tell us a few things about the program that led you to the Aristotle University and, of course, Thessaloniki?
Sure. I just want to thank the IIE for this wonderful opportunity. Minister Karameus has been very supportive, and I just want to thank everyone for allowing us to answer these questions. In 2017, I had the opportunity to visit Aristotle University through the funding of the Onassis Foundation, and without that, that wouldn't have been possible. And when I was there, we had the opportunity to speak with other students, and they were studying African-American literature, they were studying African-American culture, and they had never met an African-American. And that was amazing to me. And my professor, David Roselle, who was here, we were walking through the streets, and we had this sort of moment of epiphany that this is an opportunity to allow this exchange between two countries in a way that has actually never been done before. And I just want to say that our hope is to expand that. And through this expansion, we've come up with the Hellenic Diversities Initiative, and we've been able to send students to Aristotle University, and they've been able to have wonderful conversations and wonderful interactions with Greek students. The Greek students have stayed in contact with us, and we have made many friends and lifelong connections, and our hope is to just expand that further. So thank you.
I'm very happy you enjoyed my hometown, Thessaloniki. Thank you, Ms. Coates. And what about you, Ms. Leverton? What program did you participate in?
Yeah, so first I would also like to thank the Ministry of Education and the IIE. Minister Karameos, thank you so much for inviting us. So I'm involved with, in fall of 2021, we launched another partnership with Aristotle University with their School of Modern Greek Language. So at Aristotle, if we take Stockton students, if Stockton students take 3 semesters of Modern Greek online on Zoom, they can spend the 4th in Thessaloniki learning Greek at Aristotle University in Thessaloniki. And at the end of the semester, they can take the proficiency exam. So I am one of those students. I've been taking Greek for 3 semesters online with Professor Lita Triandafilidou. And so next semester, I'm actually going to be studying abroad in Thessaloniki. And I'm very excited to have that opportunity. Thank you. Megan mentioned the student involvement, and I'm really excited to join a class with not only Greek students, but students from international schools. And yeah, I'm very excited to be able to immerse myself in the language and the culture in Thessaloniki. After my first visit in October, it was amazing. So thank you.
And what would be the most significant benefit you gained from this experience, you think?
Yeah, so definitely, again, the student involvement. I think just learning about different cultures. I know Thessaloniki is a very multicultural place, and there's a lot of students from other countries that come to study Greek there. So I'm very excited about that. But I find that my involvement in this program, I mean, this is the first time that we've done this program between Stockton and Thessaloniki, but we plan to start it again next fall 2023. My involvement in this program sets the path for other students to have involvement. And I think that's very important. Not only American students, but also Greek students coming to America.
Thank you so much. And Megan Coates?
I think one of the most important things that students can gain from collaborations like this is understanding and confidence of place, which is something that I have gained greatly, and also Ms. Leverton. I had never been on an airplane before this, and my experience was actually in nursing. And I had an amazing opportunity to visit Greece, and it changed my entire life. And I'm told so many times that I'm very special and that I'm a unicorn and all of these things. And I know that that's not true. There are so many Megans, there are so many Evas that we have the opportunity now to reach. And I think that we are in an opportunity and in a place where we have so many resources and we have so much support from very important individuals. And I think now is the time to allow students to gain that confidence of place. When we were in Washington, D.C., Minister Karamoudis said something very eloquent. She said that the world is a mosaic. And if you step back and look at the mosaic, students have an opportunity now to find their place in this amazing picture. And before, when you're just focusing on your one tessera, it's very hard to see that. But when you step back and take a look, it gives you the confidence to pursue your dreams and to pursue things that you never thought possible. And so I'm just very thankful for that.
Well, I thank you for that too. For somebody like me who had the honor and the opportunity to study in New York when I was in my 20s, I heard you saying about the mosaic, and I had the same picture in my mind. I truly regret that both of you didn't mention anything about Thessaloniki's gastronomy, and I hope you will enjoy it. So thank you so much, both of you. Thank you so much.
Very much. Thank you. Thank you.
So I think it was really valuable to hear what the students had to say. They are the direct beneficiaries of these collaborations. So finally, I think that the takeaways we heard from both the Harvard video testimonial and from the Stockton students serve as a start reminders for those partnerships that what they actually are, where they are actually targeted to. They're targeted to students and for young people who can benefit and they can contribute the most to those programs. So thank you very much all, and I would like to call upon the CEO of the Institute of International Education, Dr. Alan Goodman, to deliver some closing remarks on the conversation we had today. Thank you.
Thanks very much for your excellent moderation of this morning. Dear friends, Madam First Lady, it's just a privilege to meet you, and thank you for your support behind the scenes. It's hard to close anything when it comes to these partnerships, and I think you have a sense that they're all works in progress. And I'm so glad we had these presentations because the partnership program doesn't begin and end with the delegation. And we're all works in progress in these partnerships. We all have obstacles to overcome. And even though we started slowly, there's been tremendous progress. And you know something now of the challenges that we face going forward. And the hope that this brings to people, whether they are students or patients suffering with Alzheimer's. So even for me, it was inspiring to see where we are and how much work there is ahead. The idea for the summit, the idea for the delegation, was conceived in the year 2019 BC. Well, it felt like that before COVID, but it really felt like it took 3 millennia for us to finally get here. And I'm reminded of how the Agamemnon begins with the watcher waiting for the words of the outcome of the Battle of Troy, and Aeschylus has the watcher say, year in, year out, night after night, I work my weary job and pray the gods for respite from my toil. Nikki and I are very grateful that you're here because we have been relieved of watching year after year, month after month, postponement after postponement to make this happen. And when the Prime Minister spoke to our Council on Foreign Relations just a few weeks ago in New York, he said, the delegation is the chance for Greece to make its case. And you are making the case for educational exchange between our countries, as the Ambassador and Secretary Satterfield spoke, because these exchanges are speaking to our future, the future of young people, the future leaders of our country, the future prime ministers and future ministers of education. They're speaking about how to overcome global challenges. They're going to teach American students something about not only the roots of democracy, we all know it was invented here, but 3,000 years of experience being resilient and facing whether it's the challenges of pandemic or the challenges of war or the challenges of fascism and all the other viruses that we have not yet conquered. Well, this is a chance for our students to realize that, like our partnerships, democracy is a work in progress. And it's also a chance for us as educators to realize what we can do to contribute to making the world a less dangerous place. In fact, those of us in international education feel that we have no more important role than to make sure that our doors remain open, that our exchanges are vibrant, that our research deepens through partnerships, and also the willingness of governments, and we have two governments here, ours and yours, that are committed to the continued openness of our universities and the sharing of our knowledge. Now, a special word, if I may, and Nikki will kill me, about the Karameas family. I actually knew her father, a distinguished jurist, when I was a baby president. He was Secretary General and President of the European Academic Cooperation Association, which was a European association. And it was his idea to invite IIE to join as an associate member. And it was a very new experience for us. My Chief of Staff, Kari Kuja, is here with us. She's now our permanent representative to the Academic Cooperation Association. And it has brought America and Europe so much more closely together, year in, year out, month in, month out. And I'm very grateful to your father for having that idea, for encouraging us to join and making it possible. I think he had to write some laws to make it, bylaws to make it possible for us to join. Nikki helped celebrate the Institute's centennial in 2019. And that's when we thought we would have, in the next 12 months, the delegation. And I had reserved the Institute's centennial medal to bring with me to Athens to present to Nikki in 2020 or late 2019 to recognize you and our gratitude for all that you did to make the delegation idea happen. Of course, that was 3 years ago, and there ain't no more centennial medals. So I realized we had to design a medal to recognize leaders in government and universities that contribute in special ways to the advancement of our field, international education. And I'm really delighted to present the first actual physical medal. It's still a little hot from the crafting, to your Minister of Higher Education, Minister of Education and Religious Affairs. You mean so much to this effort. You mean so much to me. I know the work we do is in your DNA, and I know your father would be very proud. So I'm asking my co-president, Sarah Ilchman, to join me here on stage, and if I could ask the minister to come up.
Thank you. So thank you all for being part of this program, of this journey, and please join us for coffee. Thank you.